The number one mistake I see all of the newer and even our intermediate Warhammer players make is this. They're going to spend the entire game reacting to their opponents instead of executing your own game plan. And when you're playing your opponent's game, you're gonna freaking lose. And today, I'm going to show you how to build a game plan for your army in particular, and I'm going to show you how to stick to it. I'm going to give you examples of what my current game plan is so that you can build one for your own. And yours is going to be specific towards your army. So you're probably not going to be able to just copy mine unless you're copying my list exactly, which I also kind of encourage you to do because it's pretty freaking awesome. But anyway, let's get into the video. We're going to learn a ton in this video, and you're going to really enjoy this. So let's get cracking. Here we go. The big problem is that many players are just going to be overreacting to their opponent's moves. You're going to lose focus and you'll abandon your game plan. A very common example of this is, oh, well, I am going to go stand on my opponent's natural expansion and deny it, but my opponent ends up, oh, and in order to deny my opponent's natural expansion, I have to kill the unit that's on it. But my opponent will rapid ingress a threat in a certain place that makes me want to switch my shooting to go into the rapid ingress threat instead of the unit that was on the objective that you were originally supposed to be destroying to deny your opponent's natural expansion. Well, when you don't do this and you react to the new threat, it's a big problem. Now they've thrown you off of your game plan. Now, I'm not saying there's no room to be flexible, but they're throwing you off your game plan. So we got to figure out how to gain focus and stick to our freaking plans. And as Hannibal from the A-Team himself says, I love it when a plan comes together. All right, so the overreacting planning, the problem, okay? So you've got people will panic and they start chasing distractions. For example, you're on the battlefield and someone, let's say a big, nasty, scary unit of doom appears and you walk off your objective to go kill that big, scary unit of doom. Well, is killing that scary unit of doom actually going to save you the game, or is standing on the objective and scoring the points going to save you the game? So you have to identify what your game plan is, what your win condition actually is, and actually fulfill that win condition. Don't get distracted by all the shiny things. And so we've got the big nasty crab here from what was it, Moana? He's big shiny. He gets distracted by the shiny, and that's why he loses. So don't get distracted by the shiny. Stick to your game plan. So every single army in the game has a purpose. Yes, even Imperial agents have a purpose in this game. Pour one out for your homies, Imperial agents. But effectively, it can boil down to things like this. Elite armies like to trade really efficiently because they hate trading, so they have to make sure that they might trade, say, 1 unit for 2 units. They like controlling the center space so that they're able to pivot their limited amount of units anywhere on the battlefield. And this is very generalized here, okay? Horde armies like to flood the board. They're going to just put so much OC on the objectives that your opponent can never score. Even if they do end up killing all of your units, they never are able to score. Then you've got certain unit armies that are like glass cannons. They like to never trade at all, and they just need to kill a lot of the opponent early game so that they can just snowball. So examples of armies, you've got melee pressure armies, so orcs, where orcs want to like stage up really aggressively and charge 2,000 points of their army into 2,000 points of your army, killing 1,000 points in a single turn, and then not carrying that in the following up turn. You're going to have 1,000 points of your army try to kill 2,000 of his. You've got guard board control. These guys want to spread out absolutely everywhere, deny deep strikes absolutely everywhere, and never allow your opponent to hold primary objectives. So basically, you got to know your army's cool rule. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate my army's game plan. I'm going to show you exactly in detail how my current Dark Angels army's game plan operates so that you can use this as an example to build your own. And then I'm going to give you some rules and stuff for building your own as well. So let's jump to this stream. So if I'm not mistaken, you should be able to see. Yes, I am sharing my screen. Perfect. All right, so this is just like a GW4 on a search and destroy. So let me just delete that line. So basically, if you look at my army, I'm playing Wrath of the Rock. And if you don't know what the army does, I've done other videos on it. But effectively, it all boils down to the fact that I've got bonus OC on this unit of Deathwing Knights because they're led by a Terminator Ancient. And Wrath of the Rock has an ability to deep strike these guys turn 1. I can rapid ingress the Lion turn 1 if I go first. And it's very hard to deny me primary, because if I stand on an objective right here, if you're within 6 inches of me, I can charge you at the end of your charge phase. So what this army does is it isn't 100% constructed specifically to do one thing. And what that is deny my opponent's natural expansion 1 time. That's all I got to do. Because if I hold my home field and I hold my natural expansion, and you hold your home field and you hold your natural expansion, both of us are going to score 40 points on primary. Yes, I know, Purge the Foe, things can be slightly different, but for the vast majority of primaries of missions that we're playing, we're both going to score 40 points on primary. When you look at the average secondary score for all players across the board, it's crazy how statistically accurate it is that people score anywhere between 28 and 32 secondary points. Now, if I score 28 secondary points and you score 32 secondary points, but I deny your natural expansion one time, that means I win the game by 1 point because primary is going to be worth 5 points. And yes, once again, I understand different primary missions have different primary values, but you're just going to have to understand what I'm communicating here, and you can be flexible in your thinking here. So the entire purpose of this army is one time I'm going to make sure you don't score your natural expansion. The second I do that, you are in a lot of trouble. Now you're going to have to pivot to trying to hold the center, or you're going to have to try to come take my natural expansion. Now, taking my natural expansion can be very, very challenging because I can say have these Deathwing Knights sitting here behind cover where it's very, very hard to see me. And then if you touch anywhere on my natural expansion, I have the stratagem which allows me to charge at anything that's within 6 inches of me. So if you touch this expansion, I'm just going to charge you at the end of your charge phase, and I'm going to end up controlling my natural expansion anyway. So that's very challenging for our opponents to do. It's also very challenging for opponents to actually hold the center, because if they try to hold the center, well, then I'm going to be murdering things, right? So what my army is all about is my goal is to deny this once. Once I've denied this once, it basically will always force you to either come to the center or try to deny my natural expansion. It's much harder to deny my natural expansion than it is for me to deny your natural expansion, because I believe the game is built off of primary. Now, yes, if you score 40 points on secondaries and I score 20, of course, that's a different conversation, but statistics show that basically all the time, everyone who's playing intelligently and well is going to score anywhere between 28 and 40 and 32 points. So that is the game plan for my army. My army will deny this, and I will hold this, and then I'm going to sit back and let you actually have to take the risk, because now your army has to take the risk to come into the center, and then I will annihilate you when you take the risk. But I will never take those risks because I don't have to. So that's how I made the game plan for this army, and it works exceptionally well, specifically for this army, because of my ability to charge at the end of your command phase. All right, so that is a great example of like how my army likes to operate. So now let's go and we're going to try to figure out how your army needs to operate. And I'm going to hopefully use this as like a framework for you to figure out your core roles. So let's building your game plan. First thing that you need to do is I want you to identify your army's primary win conditions. And darn it. There we go. Primary win conditions. Now this is going to change based off of the army you are playing. So for example, if I am playing World Eaters and I am playing into a gun line, well, my win condition isn't even to table you, but my win condition is to activate my 6-up pile in a consolidation ability, and I want to tag all of your shooting units so that you can never advance up the board and you can never even shoot to activate into me, right? So you need to identify your army's primary win condition. Is it that you're there to table your opponent? Is it that you're there and you're playing against, Gray Knights, and you have 20 different units and you have the ability to screen the entire board to stop them from using his teleport? That might be actually your win condition. Are you able to stop them from ever coming down from deep strike? That could be a win condition. Then you're going to choose secondaries that will align with your playstyle. The vast majority, and I mean the vast majority of the time, this will be tactical secondaries. There are a few exceptions. For example, there's a really good demons list out there. Shout out to my buddy Ryan from Team Malta, who was running like 50 pinks and some other things, and he was always going engage and cleanse. So like that would work for his style army, but if I tried to do that with my Dark Angels, I would basically instantly lose every game. So I would have to do tactical. So choose secondaries that will align with your playstyle. Know your deployment focus. Are you just trying to hold objectives? Are you trying to push into your opponent's territory? Are you trying to trade units out? Like when I play my orcs, I can very easily trade a unit of Gretchen out to deny primary or to get myself a secondary, and I don't really care if I lose that unit of Gretchen. But if I'm playing my Dark Angels, I care a lot more about you losing like an 80-point unit of Incursors than the orc player would about losing a 40-point unit of Gretchen, so I don't trade particularly well. A great example of this is you can have custodes. One of the things that custodes really like to do is they like to hold the center objective and then spread out and just bully the objectives. They don't like having to focus on secondaries because they're already not good at scoring secondaries, so they really want to win the game on primary. So you got to identify your army's primary win condition, and then you got to choose secondaries that will align with your playstyle. Then we got to learn to stick to the freaking plan. This requires actual discipline. And yes, in Warhammer 40,000, a game, you have to have discipline. You got to ignore bait units. One of the things that I like to do when I'm playing a lot of times is in my deployment, I might accidentally dangle a model out so that my opponent can shoot me if they go first. But if they do shoot me from that angle, it's going to put them in a very disadvantageous position. So a lot of times you're going to have to ignore bait so that you can stick to your game plan. You can adapt to your opponent changing things, but you can't abandon your core game plan. And let me give you a beautiful example of this, okay? So I was playing in a team's tournament, and I was playing against the Netherlands. Shout out to Rude. I forgot, I can't remember his last name, but he was the captain of the Netherlands, or vice captain of the Netherlands this past year. And he was playing his AdMech, and I was playing my Orcs, and this was before this balanced status slate when AdMech were still not good. They were always good, but, you know, whatever. And this was a bad matchup for him, but he did something very bold in turn one. In turn one, he set forth like 30 of his Taraxi Skystalkers, the ones with the scoot and shoot. I forgot what it is. But anyway, they're going to auto advance 8 or 6 inches or something. So they're going to go like 18 inches. They shoot and they move another 6 inches. So what he did is he encircled my entire army in round one. Now, me as an orc player, I actually really like this strategy because I can just break out of that jail pretty easily, and then I don't have to worry about wawing early. I can save my waw for later and just break out with my trash. Other armies would be totally screwed from this strategy. However, I went in, I had a little bit less damage than I was supposed to, and I ended up being jailed. So he actually ended up winning the game by 1 point, whereas previously, had things gone correctly, it would have been a disaster for him. Well, at the end of the game, I was talking to Mr. Rude, awesome guy, by the way, and I'm pretty sure he just had a child, so shout out, congratulations to you, dear sir. I asked him the question. I said, hey, man, that was really bold. Like, obviously it worked out for you, but why were you that bold with me when I could have broken out? And he looked me dead in the eye, and he said something really profound. I really loved it. It touched me. He goes, because that's what my army does. And I had like, holy crap, the bell went off, there was a ding, someone grabbed a glass panel and they shattered it, so they shattered that glass for me. His answer was beautiful, and it was so correct, because that's what my army does. So when we take this, you go, okay, my army actually does something on the tabletop, and 90% of the time, when it does that thing, it wins. Occasionally, it fails to do the thing. So had I actually broken out, he would have failed to have accomplished what his army does, and he would have lost. But had he not done what his army does, he would have lost a lot more. So he was brilliant because his army was designed to do a very specific thing, and he did that thing, regardless of the fact that my army could have countered him. So this is an entire way of thinking that I have adopted to my own play, which is my army is going to do what my army does. And I'm going to force my opponents to react to me, not me react to my opponents. And since I've done that, rankings have shot through the roof. You know, I've won a major, I've won several GTs, and it has been very, very good. So I want you to take this lesson from Captain Rude, and I want you to do what your army does. Your opponent will always try to drag you off of your plan. Don't let them. All right. And when you are doing this consistently, you're going to get rewarded. Consistent execution will always improve your performance. You're not panicking when your opponent does something crazy. You're actually going to have a lot more control of the battle. When you're dictating the flow, it makes life much easier because now you're not going to have to take the risk. Your opponent is going to have to take the risk, which is way, way nicer. You know, I was just talking to a client earlier today, and we were talking about his Thousand Suns game plan, where he's playing Thousand Suns, and he was playing in a matchup against the Sisters of Battle. Now, his Thousand Suns army was designed to every turn deny his opponent's expansion. He didn't care about holding his expansion. He didn't care about any of that stuff. He only cared about denying his opponent's natural expansion. And a really good example of not getting thrown off of your game plan is this. So a lot of people like to identify the problem units or the powerful units and deal with those first. So in Sisters of Battle, that would be Morven Vol with her 3 Paragon Warsuits. So most people, when they see Morven Vol in the 3 Paragon Warsuits, they go, oh, I have to destroy them right now because they're so powerful. But the only point that you would ever destroy them is because they're going to interfere with your actual game plan, right? So if they are on the battlefield, but they're not in any position to ever stop you from denying your opponent's natural expansion, in this scenario, don't deal with them. Let them kill. Let them do whatever they want to do because your entire game plan is based off of denying your opponent's natural expansion. And as long as you're able to successfully do that and hold your home field and hold either the center or your expansion for at least 1 or 2 turns, you've won the game. The game's just over after that. So it doesn't really matter what Morven Vol does. Now, flip side, let's say your opponent Rapid Ingress is Morven Vol in a position near the sister's player's natural expansion, and suddenly that unit is interfering with your game plan to deny the natural expansion. Now you might actually pivot and try to kill the Morven Vol squad. So only pivot and get distracted if the distraction actually stops your game plan. If it's not stopping your game plan, fill your game plan. Now, if you find that you're doing your game plan and you're still not winning games consistently, you probably just have a really bad game plan and you need a new game plan, if that makes sense. But basically, you always want your opponents to have to adapt to your plan, not the other way around. So let's get some closing thoughts in here. Identify your army's role and the job that it wants to achieve. Build a plan around it. Like, for example, if you are trying to... Your game plan is that you are going to go and just destroy every monster and vehicle in the entire game, and there's nothing your opponent can do about it. You're probably not going to do that with Grey Knights, because Grey Knights aren't necessarily the best at killing monsters and vehicles, right? So maybe build a different plan for Grey Knights, and not the one that just says, hey, I'm going to table all the monsters and vehicles. Stick to your plan. Don't overreact to distractions. And when you're doing this consistently, you will be winning more games. Occasionally, your game plan will fail, and that's the nature of the game. It's okay to lose a game because your game plan just didn't work in that matchup, or because dice failed you. That's not a problem. Because when you stick to an accurate game plan that is a good game plan, you're going to get like 80, 90% wins, and that is going to be freaking awesome. So, what is the army you're playing? And I want to hear it down below in the comment sections. What is your game plan? Guys, if you like this video, smash the like, share it with your friends, and if you want help identifying your game plan and leveling up your play, make sure you join our members-only Discord in the comments down below. You can also book private coaching with me where I will absolutely help you construct your army and build your game plan for you so that you can go have much more success in Warhammer 40,000. Until next time, crump on. Bye-bye.